Osiris.
We're mass communicating. We're mass communicating. Mass communicating.
Welcome back to Touchdowns All Day. I am your host, Max Dawson, and joined with me, our co-host, John Barber.
How's everybody doing? What's going on with the podcast? Been a bunch of episodes while we were finishing up tour. It's incredible how productive you've been, Max.
You're out on the road doing your thing. I'm at home doing mine. It's good to have you back, though. We got a lot to catch up on, not the least of which is the subject of this episode, which we'll get to later, which is Risky Business, the latest of the many new songs the band has debuted in 2024. But John, you just came off the road after a momentous weekend in Pine Creek, great shows in Colorado. You had great shows in the Midwest, in Chicago, Grand Rapids. How are you feeling having closed the page on the Why We Dance tour?
Why We Dance tour is in the books. Rock Opera was debuted, 3 different tractor beam styles, like 10 or 11 new songs beyond the space opera, and beyond what we did last year. And yeah, it was a lot of stuff to do. I mean, it was just one really great week after another is the way that I look at it. And to me, I plan the tours and what we're doing on these tours on kind of a week by week basis. You know, I want every single week to be special if you go to all the shows in that week, you know, and it doesn't mean that, you know, I don't want to make every single show like this kind of like circus of randomness, because then you lose your groove, you know, you lose your pocket. You're not in the pocket anymore. The band is stressed because it's too much, and you kind of lose track of things that people find important, like playing older songs, you know, like Minions showed up on the Why We Dance tour. Yeah. Great song, never really got it right in the past, and suddenly we're playing Minions. It sounds awesome, and I think we're getting it right now. And so, you know, you have to be able to work on that kind of stuff in addition to the new stuff, in addition to the new sounds and some of the stuff that's like kind of like top of the to-do list of things.
Well, we're going to have an episode coming up real soon with Mark Brownstein, during which we're going to discuss setlist construction, because I feel like you guys have really hit a groove with the way you're blending together the new songs that are going to be in heavy rotation, the Country Royales, the Risky Businesses, Trapdoors, the classics that, you know, the fans want to come out and see, their Helicopters or their I Man or Hot Air Balloon, then the bust outs, and then mixing in some things that are a little less frequent, but they don't qualify as bust outs, but they're not the heavy hitter classics. Needless to say, I think we're both thinking about the same show, that show in Mishawaka where you came out and did a first set that was super old school, all classics, Hot Air Balloon, Shamrock Boo, a C to B. And then you came out the second set. It was like a different band, all new songs, just like crazy intense dance party. And we're going to talk about that because that's the set where the Risky Business was first debuted. But I think that's exemplary of what you guys have going on right now. You're able to touch on all the different eras of the Biscuits. You're mixing in the originals, the covers, the tractor beam sound, the transfusion sound, the classical inspires. We even got a fiddler. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm surprised we don't play Fiddler all the time. It's a beautiful song. That particular set that you mentioned was supposed to be exactly what it was, which was, let's just be the old school Biscuits for a set. You know, and the show to do that at is always the show that sells out the fastest, because that's going to be the one that, you know, the hardcore heads only got tickets to, you know what I mean? So, yeah, Yeah, that's kind of how that worked out. It wasn't really quite done that way on purpose, but ended up being that way. It worked out really well. We also had, 2 sets in Mishawaka. We had 2 other sets in Fort Collins that week. So we felt like we were kind of super serving that market, and we could play a lot of different, set planning ideas. I'm sure Mark has some opinions.
Well, we look forward to hearing Mark's POV on all of this. Any highlights for you from the last leg of the tour? I guess maybe from Grand Rapids and Chicago on through Pine Creek Lodge. Anything stick out for you?
Well, I really enjoyed the Pine Creek shows this year. I listened to Tractor Beam. I thought it was crazy. I listened to that Sunday night and I really liked it. I got to hang at Pine Creek. It was a little bit more relaxed, I think, than the last time. Last time it was the beginning of the tour, maybe. Yeah. So it was like, what are we doing? And this time it was like, we know what we're doing. The highlights for me are always when the band is like, I think when it says, when we get good laps during the sets, those are usually highlights for me. I don't know. What were I was in the band, so I didn't really hear the stuff. But I don't know. I had a great time over the weekend in general.
In Pine Creek.
It was cool.
Yeah, Pine Creek is really, I think, emerging as the weekend, the number one weekend of the Disco Biscuits annual calendar. It's the time where everyone comes together. This year, a big family emphasis. Lisa and Riv were able to come out. We did some great daytime activities. We took everyone out on the river cruise that we went on last year. There was hiking. We went out for burgers and milkshakes. It's just like a really wholesome way to end the summer. And, I know that the folks at Pine Creek Lodge really loved having us. And I know that everyone who was there really loved it. So I hope that this is a tradition that continues, because it really is one of the things that I look forward to the most over the last 2 years.
Well, Chip, who owns the place, he's just a, guy. It's not like owned by any corporation. It's owned by this guy who built it as his dream spot. And I met him last year. He was very social last year. He was very cool. And this year he pulled me aside before the second set and was like, so are you liking this? Are you having a good time? How do you feel about this? And I was just like, interesting. I think he just kind of really likes the Biscuits, the crowd, the vibe, the people. And he just wants to make sure that, I'm sure he talked to other guys in the band too. So he just wants to make sure the band is also happy, so that, everybody has a real desire to come back next year. I think it's a cool thing. There's a lot of places to stay that are walkable from the venue area, and some are literally in the venue area. And so if you're, thinking, I don't really want to camp, this is a good multi-day, you get a lot of times it's a teepee or a shipping container with bathrooms and showers and kitchens. They're like RVs, but in a shipping container, and you don't have to drive, and you can just go there, there was 18 people that all rented out these 3 shipping containers together. They had their dogs with them. They had all sorts of crazy things that I didn't even know you could buy on Amazon. They had a really awesome campfire thing going till 4:00 every morning. At least that's when I checked out, and it was just super amazing life at the venue, camp style, but with amenities, a little bit more mature, I guess. There are tents there too. There's camping there too. There were these teepees where you don't have to, it's like being in a huge tent. Those were cool. It was very Burning Man, those teepees. And I don't know. I just feel like it's a cool vibe for the camping festival, which with the Biscuits, we haven't figured. I don't think this is the Biscuits. I think this is the music business right now. The camping festival has dropped off in a major way for everyone involved.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think it's the Biscuit generation of kids is a little older, doesn't want to camp. Fish generation is long gone for camping. They forgot about camping a long time ago. And the younger generation doesn't camp really that much compared to previous generations. And so they're having trouble, getting the camping off the ground sometimes. And this Pine Creek is a nice way to do it. It's a nice way to get the experience of a weekend camping festival without the hassles of, shuttle buses, hotels in town, that kind of stuff. And it's just the place is just getting better and better. This year they had multiple alcohol spots and multiple food locations, and they were just a little better organized this year than they were last year. And I think that just gets better and better as we go. They're very motivated. It's a good group of people, and they're very cool. I wanted to ask you, Max, did you drive to Yellowstone National Park? I saw pictures of you.
We did.
Where did you go?
Avery and I and Tyler and Juliet got in the car Saturday morning. We drove out to Yellowstone at the recommendation of Gary, who had been there the day before, and Dougie. They gave us some pointers. Probably about an hour and a half in the car from Pine Creek. We were staying basically on site. You could be in the park seeing the sulfur springs. We were at Mammoth Springs. Amazing, beautiful nature. And that's what I love the most about this as compared to the traditional camping festival where you usually spend most of the day hungover and hearing the sounds of, it's just you're trying to sleep and the sun's
the other bands
coming down either.
Yeah.
You hear all day going on and on. Here during the day, we got up, we went hiking, we went to the park. There was a group that went to the waterfall. There's a waterfall hike like a mile away from the venue. We had the rafting trip. You can do beautiful nature activities. And what is truly one of the most awe-inspiring landscapes in the country out there in Livingston. And then come in the evening and see two sets or a tractor beam set from your favorite band. And to me, that's the ideal way to do it. I don't need a day of bands from 11 a.m. until 4 in the morning. I want to see my Biscuits. And then for the rest of the day, I want to be with my friends, my family, enjoying some beautiful destinations. And so for me, Pine Creek is the platonic ideal of a Biscuits 3-day weekend.
Well, I ended up in a sing-along after the Sunday night show.
I heard about this. Our friend Amy, who contributed her cover of, what was Amy's original cover? I can't even remember it. It was Humu. Yes. So Amy was playing her ukulele late into the night. I heard she does a country royale.
We did country royale, into bouncing around the room, back into country royale. I sang the country royale part. She just jammed into bouncing around the room, which I haven't heard that song in like a really long time. And I was like, I remember this is a great song. It's a really great song. And then she jammed it back into country royale. And then she dropped off to the fourth verse for me to do solo.
Oh my God.
And it was weird. She was doing track after track after. When I got there, she had been going. She had a crowd. There was a whole thing going on. There was like, I was outside of this little cabin thing that was 2 rooms and a bathroom and a shower. It was so little and tiny, but it was kind of perfect if you're there, like it looked like there were 2 or 3 people in there staying there. It had a little front porch. They had a DJ set up on the front porch. And I think Crunk Mike was going to spin later.
Crunk Mike was spinning throughout the weekend.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then she was out on the little, the driveway leading up to there. And there was a whole crowd of people around there. And that hang went for, as long as I left, that hang was still going. And it was hours going on there. So there was a kind of a lot scene, camp scene. It was cool.
It's like a little Mel stock. Right?
It was very similar to that.
And we've put in a request to Amy to send us some new covers because I've only heard rave reviews from everyone who was there about she did a great confrontation. I heard she is so talented and we love to showcase fan covers on the show. We are gearing up for another installment of our fan covers showcase, John. I've got a lot of cool stuff. I've got a hot air balloon done on a Korg Electribe EMX1. Just wait till you hear this. I have so much cool stuff to share for you. So many great episodes we've got in the hopper, but before we bring Joey out to discuss the band's newest banger, wanted to hear from you of the new songs debuted this year. And let me give you the rundown because I got the list here. We've got No Recollection, In the End We Have Forever, Another Spin, Doses, Trapdoor, Country Royale, Risky Business. I might be leaving some stuff out. I'm not counting the tractor beam covers. What are you most excited about from that batch? What has got your fancy right now?
Well, I feel like are we? No, that was it. I thought there was one more. I don't know. I really think Trapdoor is an incredible song. I think Country Route is an incredible song. I really feel like Doses and Risky Business are these cool, like weird, like hot, sexy songs that the Biscuits are writing, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. They're all really different. Like the band we can't write one song that's like the last one. Like every song has to be this whole other thing. And yeah, I don't know what I would say about those songs except for what an interesting group. Like No Recollection, Doses, like those need to be played. Like we haven't even played those in a minute because there's so many for rotation.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to cut your A-C-to-B or your hot air balloon to fit them in. So yeah, we're in that situation right now.
It's a great place to be where you have so many new songs that not only you want to play, but the fans want to hear. And of course, we're going to talk about one of those tonight, Risky Business. We're going to welcome onto the podcast our good friend, Coach Joey. Joey, welcome back to the pod.
Thanks, Max. Hey, John. Good to be here.
So we have gotten into this rhythm now where you debut a song, we do an episode, and Risky Business is certainly a worthy subject for an episode. Only been played 3 times so far, but each one has been massive. I would like to take the listeners through the history of this song, starting with the jam that inspired it. But before we delve in, anything you want to say to kind of set the table? How do you think of Risky Business? What is the sort of, if Risky Business has a purpose or a theme? John, you just said before, it's one of these sexy songs that you guys have been writing recently. And I think, maybe that you would include Photograph in that category or Doses and Doorbell in that category. I think of them as like sweaty dance party, get everyone on the floor songs. But how do you guys think of Risky Business and its place within the repertoire right now?
It's right there, right? That's right where I'd put it. That's an interesting group too. Doses, Photograph, Doorbell, maybe Dino Baby, and then, Risky Business, where it's like high energy. And it's possible that all of the songs were made out of the same jam, but it's basically that kind of, pumping, high energy, electronic Biscuits with, lyrics and hooks, right? That seems like a good group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good group. I think this definitely is one of those songs that's kind of representative of the current Biscuit sound. It came from a very current Biscuits jam that was very electronic and played on the Moog keyboard, and so it really has that sort of 23, 24 Biscuit sound to it. And I think when you're making a song like this, right, it's really about the dance banger aspect of it. You don't really want to overcomplicate it with like too many words or like super emotional lyrics. You just want like something that's going to be fun to dance to, that might mean, can mean something to somebody, but like you're not trying to overcook it with the lyrics. You're trying to let the people dance, let the people dance and don't confuse everybody.
Well, let's start out with that jam then. This jam is, of course, the Rock Candy from April 13th, 2024. That was played in Atlanta. And this one first came on my radar because Avery, who doesn't listen to a lot of Nugs, played this show and specifically highlighted this for me. She said, this is what I want the Biscuits to sound like. This is my ideal Biscuits jam. And I had that in my head. We were all in the studio in April while you guys were working on stuff. I think that was the sessions when you were working on In the End We Have Forever, some other tracks. And you guys were pulling apart the stems from the Doorbell from this show. You guys were looking for some really good, solid examples of Doorbell to work off of for the studio cut, I think. And you started the jam a little bit before Doorbell started, which is, of course, the jam that inspired Risky Business. Joey, John, how and when did this song come on your radars come on your radars as a potential candidate to write to?
I think Joey picked this jam out of, this was on Joey's list of jams we should consider writing over. And then I think Joey was at the house here and we were doing some writing and we decided to take a day off and not write and just organize. And we made a page of, these are the songs these are the loops of stuff. And then we listened to the loops and we put them in kind of an order of, how great are these? And this was in the group of really great. And that's how it got chosen. I'm pretty sure. Does that sound like it makes sense, Joey?
Yeah, that's more or less right. And the thing about this one was, I think that at the time we also were looking for like a good template for doorbell, and the Atlanta doorbell was the first kind of full doorbell. It was the first doorbell that you got to kind of played the ending of. And so we already knew we liked the Rock Candy Jam. We needed a doorbell anyway. So it was kind of like, a little bit of extra bang for the buck when we were listening to them. We listened to this one and the jam that ultimately became Another Spin. We were like, we should sing over this. We should sing over this. And we kind of just started, I think we wrote this after Another Spin, but it was kind of that same weekend and we were kind of following the same process. And yeah, it was just, it was fun. We could, you're always just trying to like, when you play a jam, you want to just like naturally all of a sudden start hearing melodies in your head. And that's sort of like, if you start automatically hearing those melodies in your head, that, this is something that would be fun to write over. And I think that's kind of just what happened.
Let's have a listen. I cut this generously because I feel like even though there is a very distinct segment where you hear and you say, oh, that is Risky Business, there's a lot going on before that where you guys are playing with all of the themes that end up coalescing in that last few minutes before doorbell starts. So let's go with this.
Start to hear the very beginning of it a little bit.
Well, I just played the changes in the lick that I played, which is weird. So I wonder if we're like feeling it or if it was in the previous jam still and sort of the changes worked through one jam to another.
And then, Magner's just complimenting you now. All right, John, I think you get credit for this one. I think in the end, Where Forever probably goes to Brownstein. Some of these probably go to Magner. Maybe Another Spin goes to Magner. But John, I think you are responsible for making this jam.
Well, it's weird because there's so many different characteristic things about the demo. Like, is Magner going to play the melody? I still don't remember if the keyboard melodies of Risky Business were from the demo or if Aaron cut them live in the studio. I just don't remember. I haven't looked at it to see. And I guess I could figure it out if I look at the multi-track and see if it's recorded or demo, but... It sounds like he's about to play the melody right there.
And
yeah, he's definitely playing
circles around it for quite a while before he finds it. And when he finds it, there is a click that just the entire band locks in on it all, and it's magic.
It's probably 75-25. You get the credit, John, and then Magner gets some credit too.
Dude, we were on a raft with Joey in Montana, and Joey's like assigning points to every single animal that we see. Ducks aren't worth any points, by the way.
Pointless ducks.
Pointless
otters are worth. Otters, eagles, everything's worth points.
Yes.
Everything has to get a number.
I believe a golden eagle was 4 points.
Yes.
An eagle
Golden
was
eagle
one.
was
No,
a 4
golden
point.
eagle's like 10 points,
Oh.
dude. Isn't it?
That was
How many
it was
points
4.
is a golden eagle? 4 points. I'm
Bald
sorry.
eagles were 2 and golden eagles were 4. Listen, everything is a competition in life, including who gets credit for the jams that make the songs.
That's right.
Well, our Gunner, our raft captain, knew that in order to get paid, we needed at least 30 points worth of animals.
Which was good.
We got
He
40.
kept him motivated.
We got 40.
Yeah, the otters really tipped it at the end.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Gunner was lying to us. I don't know if we actually saw the otter.
Oh, come on. Come on. Don't besmirch Gunner's good name like that, Max. You might listen to this podcast.
This riff right here, John, I love.
Yeah, I really like riffs. Honestly, I learned that from Trey Anastasio. He has an antelope. I still remember it because I remember being like, "Oh, you can do that." He has an antelope from like Binghamton, New York, or something. It's like a famous antelope from back in the day, where he hits the peak of the antelope before the band. And I do it all the time, still to this day. I'm always trying to hit stuff couple beats before the band, and then when the band comes in underneath, it's like kind of like has this like hugely triumphant undercurrent and feeling to it. I don't know where he learned it, probably Miles Davis, but yeah, it definitely has a great feel to it. Whenever you can pull it off in a cool way, it's definitely a good idea.
Okay, you're officially playing Risky Business now.
Well, yeah, Mark just hopped onto the bass line.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened,
And
but yeah,
you've
this is
got the riff, and we just need Magner.
There's something else about this. Alan switches to the clap.
Yes.
And the clap to me makes the whole song. I've talked to Alan about this. The clap creates the party vibe that is Risky Business, you know? It has that. So that's why I think we chose this part of the loop, because it has a definitive bass line and a definitive clap, and it's chill.
I mean, this is virtually undistinguishable from any of the Risky Businesses we've actually played. I mean, it's you could just sing it right over here, and it's just like Pine Creek or The Mish. I mean, it's basically the song. Which again, that's what you're looking for when a jam is so good that you think it's a song, and then you make it a song.
Yeah, there's something about this song where it's like if you don't play the line, then you're not playing the song. So it gives everybody very focused, whereas like another song, you know, there's a lot, like another spin, like nobody plays their demo lines, you know, but in Risky Business, everybody plays their exact demo line.
Magner's about to do it.
Now they're back in doorbell world. They're going into doorbell now.
And just a perfect buttery segue into one of the most massive doorbells of all time. It clocked in at like 37 minutes or something like that, I feel like, on Nugs. The way that those two songs fit hand in hand, it's got a real China Rider situation going on. You could play those two together seamlessly. They just are meant to be next to one another. But also, We Like to Party. Any of the songs with Mark on the Moog, Risky Business just fits so nicely inside of.
Yeah, it's interesting. Those are all the Moog songs. Because, like, No Recollection, not Moog. Country Royale, not Moog. In the End, We Forever. Trying to get Mark to play the Moog, but it was from a string bass line. There are some other, not really. Firewall Exchange, not Moog. Yeah, so hey, you know.
Yeah.
The Moog has its own vibe. The way Mark plays it is very unique. And that gives it a little bit of gives the band a very unique sound.
So you pulled these multi-tracks circa May when you're working on some other stuff, but you come back to it, as Joey mentioned, the same sessions that produced Another Spin. And I think we referred to this in a past episode. This was like the 3-day period where every day I woke up to another touchdown. Joey, what are your memories of this session? This was around June 14th, I think, where you wrote Risky Business, Trapdoor, and Another Spin in quick succession.
Yeah, I think this was the last one we wrote of that weekend. I remember writing it. I think we wrote it pretty quick because, let's be honest, we didn't change a whole lot from the multi-track. I mean, it's basically the song. So it didn't take that much production work. I had already had, I think, a lot of the lyrics that ultimately became the song from some stuff that I had been working on. I'd come into this weekend and I had wrote some of what would ultimately become Trapdoor and what would ultimately become this song. I had written them actually over other jams that then became different songs, but I had been, in preparation for the session, I wanted to have some lyrics ready. And so, the song wasn't exactly like this, but, I don't think it took a long time to get from whatever I had to this. It's not that complicated. I think John and I were pretty much on the same page as sort of like what we felt about what we wanted the song to be. And we kind of had good melodies like right away. And we didn't really try to overcook it too much. I mean, I think we made a couple of small changes to the lyrics like after the session was over. But the song we, keep it simple, stupid. The jam was great. Don't mess with it too much. The lyrics were fit the song really well and complemented the song, but, didn't overcomplicate things or try to overdo it. And, sometimes the best songs come that way. I don't think it's, this is like one of the fun songs. It's not necessarily maybe like the one that you would hold up as like your best lyrics ever or anything like that. But it's like we succeeded in just making a fun dance party banger that you can fit into any set and get the place cooking. And I think every time they played this in the last couple of shows, the set really took off, when they started playing this.
No doubt. It's something that I've noticed. Salt Lake City is the best example of that. Salt Lake City first set, you were finding your footing. You came out for the second set. You ripped through a killer King of the World. But then you hit Risky Business and it was lights out. The crowd went absolutely apeshit. The band's energy cranked up. There's something about this song that is just like a shot in the arm for everyone in the room. You clearly enjoy playing it, John, and the crowd loves dancing to it. One thing I wanted to steer back to, though, was Joey, you saying, we kept it simple. I know that the first couple songs, things like Attack, you felt for a while that there were too many parts, that you needed to consolidate. You needed these songs to sort of contract a little bit so that you weren't doing so much composition. I feel like Risky Business is an indication that you've got that dialed in. It's kind of lean. It's got 2 verses and a chorus, and it doesn't have a lot of variants and bridges and pre-choruses and stuff like that. It is pretty to the point. Was that deliberate, or is it just sort of the song lent itself to that sort of more direct approach?
I wouldn't say it was deliberate. I mean, we were writing a lot of songs at this time, right? Country Royale has 4 verses. In the End We Have Forever, has a bridge and 2 verses. Another Spin had a bunch of different sections. And it's sort of like when we're making them, usually John tells me, he's like, I think this needs a bridge, or I think this needs another verse. And generally then I'll be like, okay. And I usually agree with him. And this was one where we just really didn't feel like it needed something else. I think we said what we wanted to say and we did what we wanted to do with what we had. And I think, we could have probably played this on the Biscoland tour too. I mean, it was pretty much done. It was just, there was a lot of songs to get in rotation. And I think we just always, I remember we talk about this song and John would be like, this is ready. I mean, it's just ready. It feels ready. It felt ready. And so, yeah, I don't think we ever sort of deliberately go into song and say, this song is going to have 2 verses and a bridge, or this song's going to have 3 verses and a chorus. I think we just kind of, feel it out where we are and how we feel about it. And I think we just kind of felt like that this song didn't, it didn't need anything else. We did what we wanted to do with it.
Yeah. Well, let's have a listen to an early demo. This one, I don't know that much more than it's the first one I have. It's version 3.1. So who knows what you guys did before this, but I'm going to play this demo and we'll listen to it, see how much has changed and see what has stayed the same.
See, in my mind, this melody is so good that the song doesn't need a bridge anymore.
Yeah.
It's just so it's an emotional melody.
I guess it's the reverse order on the chorus. We flipped the order there.
Yeah. There are a few, both in the verse and the chorus, lines that have swapped order.
I mean, there's
Yeah, that's
very
all we
few
did.
changes. Very few changes, like one or two words, and a couple of swapped lines. And I mean, again, first session, a couple hours, and the song was there. I think one of my favorite lines of this song, probably my favorite line of the song, I think is a really good example of how John and I's collaboration oftentimes work. And it's, I see your message and I leave it on red. You know, I had written a different line there that was kind of similar. It was something like, you know, I don't want to end up as a message you send or something like that. And then he was like, I don't know what that means. And then I kind of changed it a little bit. And then he'll be like, I see your, and then he comes in with, what if it's, I see your message and I leave it on red? And I was like, oh my God, that's obviously the line. So probably my favorite line of the song. A lot of my favorite lines come between like a natural back and forth that happens between something that I come up with and then he makes better, you know? And I think that's kind of our style of collaboration in a nutshell right there.
You had a great example of that recently that you told me, Joey, with respect to Country Royale, the vision line. Do you want to share with the audience how that line evolved?
Yeah, the original line was, you see, I had a vision. You bust me out of prison, right? And then and John's was, what if it's the Lord gave me a vision, you know? And boom, then the line is just like, it just makes it levels it up, and then that's the line, right? That's another good example.
Both of those are also examples that I think create a character in the storyteller, in the voice of the narrator of the song. In Country Royale, it's this consummate con man who's like, oh, this woman, she'll be swayed by if I appeal to her faith. And in this, I see your message and I leave it on red. I mean, that is like a Bob Dylan-esque burn, like in terms of
Modern,
it's
yeah.
like the modern version of like, I don't even know who you are. You know, I see you, I don't even know who you are anymore. Like Idiot Wind or something like that. There's another line that I want to ask you about, but I'll wait till after the chorus.
Yeah, both those lines that you brought up, Max, really kind of like nail the tone of the whole song. And both of those lines came about in a very, very similar way. And I think that's why John and I work so together when we do that, so well together when we do this.
Okay, so the other line is the line that gives the song its title. It's risky business if you're here to be friends. When I heard that originally, I thought of the classic line from reality TV and Survivor in particular, where people say, I'm not here to make friends. Is there any relationship between this concept of being friends and the risks involved and that kind of classic line from reality TV, or am I just grasping at straws here?
Yeah, that thought never crossed my mind about the reality TV part of it. I mean, look, this song is clearly about sort of the gray area of relationships, right? Whether it's the gray area of alliances on Survivor or the gray areas sometimes between friends and lovers, right? Like there's oftentimes in friendships, there's these areas of that friendship that aren't properly defined, right? Yeah. And sometimes those, you know, they might go, and they could go anyway sometimes, right? Or all sorts of things can happen within that. And I think that line changed a couple times from, you know, I've mentioned before, like, you know, I'll sit down and I'll write like little songs. And then those songs usually don't become a song, but lines from those songs will get seeded in all sorts of songs that we end up writing, because we have Notion, the project management tool, and we don't throw away anything that we write. And we've got all these, like, you know, trash bins of lyrics and parking lots of lyrics. And so that line has changed until we got to the line that it was. But yeah, I think this song is really about, you know, it's not exactly it's not like a country royale where it's like a very, very specific thing that's happening, but I think it's really meant to represent that gray area that happens in friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
that you kind of have to work your way through with whoever it is you're in that relationship with.
Well, like you said, Joey, the song felt done from very early on, and yet it was the last of this batch of songs to find its way to stage, leaving aside Mark's song, which has a little bit of a different history, and hopefully we'll be able to cover real soon with Mark. But you decided to break it out at Mishawaka. And Joey, before you joined, John and I spoke about the beautiful contrast of that set list from the 7th at Mishawaka, the Saturday night. First set, Hot Air Balloon, Shemrabu, a C2B Hot Air Balloon. And the second set, 7-Eleven, Inverted Home Again, Trapdoor, Risky Business, Minions, Leave Me Alone, 7-Eleven. Truly getting the full gamut of the Biscuits today, as well as the Biscuits over the course of their entire career there. Joey, I know that you and Mark work together quite closely to come up with the song lists and then ultimately the set lists. Can you talk a little bit about the construction of that show's set list?
Yeah, honestly, I think Mark can take most of the credit for this one. I mean, we do work very closely on most or many of the set list in a lot of ways, but sometimes Mark also just wants to do something. He feels something and he wants to do it. And I think this was one of those shows where he had a vision kind of for what he wanted to do. We knew we were going to debut Risky Business during the show. But he really kind of spearheaded the set list that night. And I think he gets most of the credit for the construction of it and how it ultimately came out. But I think, I think going into it, what we talked about was, all right, we're playing a really classic first set, but we want to make sure to keep it still find those dance pockets, keep it dancey, find plenty of 4-to-floor in the classic. But then really, take it into a dance party all out in the second set. But I mean, give it up for the band for being able to play a show that's so diverse, right? I mean, I saw like a band they're a huge band and they're great. I saw Mountjoy at Dillon and they're a good band, but it all kind of, you're kind of feeling like you're seeing a lot of the same song over and over again. And I think you see most bands, even really good bands in the jam scene, and you see a lot of songs and they feel like you're seeing that band or you're seeing that style of music. And, hats off to the Biscuits for just being able to bring so many diverse types of playing to a single show. And it really gives you that sense that you go on a journey when you go on a Disco Biscuit, when you go to a Disco Biscuit show that you don't always feel at other shows. And I think that's one thing that Mark and I always want to do is we want it to feel like a journey, right? We want the energy to flow in a certain way. And so that you feel like you're going on a ride with the band. And hats off for him. He really wrote an amazing set list. And the band played it great.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say that, longtime fans, new fans, that it was the best Biscuits show they've ever seen. And of course, we'll wait for the dust to clear a little bit more before we make those kind of superlative declarations. But if you haven't yet, not only listen to the show, go read the reviews on Nugs. One of the best Biscuits shows I've seen. Nonstop dance throwdown. Not even done listening, but dear God, the energy, the bust outs, they are dialed into one another. The grooves do not relent. We'll be coming back to that Shemrabu for sure. Holy smokes, man. This is an absolutely phenomenal show. Show of the year. I mean, people were absolutely thrilled that night, and myself included, and for good reason. Not only did the song selections deliver, but the performances were amazing. And we got a debut that really did justice to Risky Business. I'm going to roll that, and I'm going to once again have a lot of pre-roll on the jam because I can't get over how good the Trapdoor was that night. And the Trapdoor into Risky Business really defined that night for me. Yes, I loved hearing a C2B, but Trapdoor is right now my favorite thing that the Disco Biscuits do. No offense to Risky Business, which is probably my second favorite thing, but the jam out of Trapdoor had some of the most interesting playing, Magner especially getting very creative and weird. So let's take it from sort of mid Trapdoor into the debut of Risky Business. This is at Mishawaka Amphitheater, September 7th, 2024.
We should repeat every Trapdoor verse. Should we bring it down to one?
I just felt that way on that one particular, but I think it has to do with what Alan's doing. But I really feel like maybe, this song's not done yet. I just have a thought. I don't know, but there's some things we could do to take away the repetition and make it kind of flow a little bit more from front to back. I don't know if this is the form. I like this form. I think this is a good step in the right direction from Bisco Land. But
yeah, like
I don't know
when we didn't have the new section that we added, doubling it made a lot of sense because we didn't really have anything else to do. And now that we have that other section and we do it through the verse 3 times, I'm not sure that we need to double it anymore. I've been thinking that when I've been listening to it, at least, and why not bring it up in public in front of all the these are the types of conversations we have, everyone. Yes. So welcome to the types of conversations we have.
I mean, my question. Go ahead, Max.
I was going to ask you, John. The last time I spoke to you about Trapdoor, you said, nope, Trapdoor is going to be 3 separate songs. It's going to be the Trapdoor part. It's going to be the wings part, and then there's the other part, which most people haven't heard yet. But somewhere along the line, you brought back the wings back into Trapdoor. What was the thinking behind that? Because I applaud that decision. I love. And it might be that, you're saying it's not finished. Maybe you just put all the 3 pieces back together again that you originally started with. But what was the reasoning behind putting
people have requested
part
that
2 and 3 back together, or part 1 and 2? I can't remember what the parts were, but bringing back together the Trapdoor section and Spread Your Wings section.
I mean, I think if you have all of the sections together, you have a situation where you have parts that can only be played once in the entire song. And I don't know which one of those parts only goes once. I mean, I want Trapdoor back to back and then back to back and then back to back. Like, I don't want that once. I don't want Spread Your Wings and Fly Away once. I could maybe do the Foghorn Melody part once.
No, we need that twice.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then the Soldier song that people haven't heard yet, which we'll probably put out in a couple of weeks, if we get it done. I don't think that part's once either. Let's take a long song like Magellan, right? Yes. Magellan, there's parts that go twice. There's a lot of parts that go once. There's a lot of major parts that go twice. It's hard to say. Magellan was this concept song from the beginning that was, I was like walking at a beach thinking about a guy on a boat for hours till like dawn, like 10 days in a row, and like this song, and I had musical parts that I was putting into situations where they fit stuff that I had already wrote. So it was like I was kind of making a movie at that point. Yeah. This song, I don't know if this song is different. Like, it's like we have these incredible dance party melodic moments. I mean, Atlantic City, when we dropped into Trapdoor in Atlantic City, the place basically exploded. Yes. And that is the power of that section in my mind. I don't know, like, is the answer, like, do we do Trapdoor less times? Do we change up the lyrics so Trapdoor is something where we don't say Trapdoor, we say something else, or maybe we say Trapdoor and then something else? Is the Wings Fly Away part, is that a chorus? I don't know. Like, This song is interesting because if you put all 3 sections in a demo, that demo's 9.5 minutes long, and I just think it's too long for a dance party song, in my opinion. You know, it just is what it is. It's too long. Like, to give Joey a lot of credit, to go back to Risky Business for a second, he showed up to the session basically with that song. I mean, I heard the lyrics that he had before we even started the song, and I was like, oh, that's done. You know, it's just like, I could hear the song before, from what he said and what we were playing with in the jam, and I was like, oh, that's this. And the question was like, how do we get there? You know, and it was pretty simple. And that's why that song works so well and is what it is. And I think Trapdoor is this other song where it has these incredible moments. And as a writer, sometimes you have to accept the fact that, you know, it's kind of like Brando in Apocalypse Now. Like, you have to like get into the acting and the art of it all and the situation of it all and craft until you end up with something that you really love in all the parts. So I'm just experimenting right now, putting these parts together. This morning I woke up and I was like, Wings Fly Away and Soldiers should go together and Trapdoor should be its own thing. So it's like, you know, it's like this is the fun part of the job, in my opinion.
The Trapdoor section comes really out of the Soldier part. The Trapdoor section hit really hard too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it hits hard out of anything. That shit hits hard out of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, dude. The reason I put them together is just like we're kind of alluding, the music is basically the same from part to part. Like, Aaron wrote those horn parts over Trapdoor groove. So I was like, all right, well, they're already the same song, so, you know, they're already pretty much the same thing. So that's why I did that. It was easy, it was fast, gets it ready for tour, and I think it might be the solution, but you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just take a second to give it up to the Shadow Jam again, from whence Trapdoor came. I mean, that jam had multiple parts to it that were all really good and allowed us to make all these great parts.
Yeah, and it speaks to the value.
Jam of the year contender.
Yeah, it speaks to the value of, you know, playing the old stuff, keeping the old stuff in rotation, which is a lot of work. You know, like, how does this song go? Like, how do we not screw this? You know, like, why did we stop playing it? Where's it at now? We spent a lot of time on that. That's how you get that Mishawaka show, is you have, like, people walked up to me after Mishawaka and didn't even mention Risky Business because there were so many things they wanted to talk to me about. Shemra, C to B, there were so many things in that set. I was like, and we played a new, I was like listening to them, and then I was like, and how did you like the new song? And they were like, what new song? Oh yeah, that was great too. You know, it was just like, it wasn't this like thing where, I don't know, it was such a big show for people from front to back. It was so different. Yeah. And I don't, you know, this is a Shadow jam, and Shadow is one of those songs that it's interesting.
Loved how the next night you played Shadow, dropped the foghorn, the trombone part into Shadow. So the two shows.
I think we called that on stage. Yeah. I think we just call foghorn now on stage whenever.
We started doing this up front in PCL. We started doing the. Why am I doing it myself?
Well, I'm doing it. Why don't you make the noise? You're making me look stupid up here.
I know it gets brought up a lot. The fans, you know, they want to just, why don't the band play this song and this song all the time? And I think, you know, the band has made a really conscious effort to get more songs into rotation over the last couple tours as they've been playing more. But I don't think the fans always quite realize that it's not, you know, with over several hundred songs, the band just doesn't automatically remember every note to every song that they've ever written. And they want to play them well. They don't want to get on stage and just fumble through a song they haven't played. So it takes a lot of, I mean, even not as much effort maybe as it does a brand new song, but sometimes the brand new songs they're listening to all the time, it's easier for them to just kind of pick up and start playing them than it is to even just pick up and start playing a song they haven't played in a while. But the one thing that I think the band has been doing is now when they're playing a song they haven't played for a while, it's like, do we have the chart? Is the chart right? Are the lyrics right? Everything's organized. All the parts are organized. So now it's easier to play those songs again.
Yes.
All the vocal stuff is done. Like a lot of the stuff that's new in the past couple months or years, has to get applied to all the old songs. And I think the band's done a really good job of really putting a lot of energy into being very deliberate about how they put old songs on stage as well as new songs on stage to make it so that it's more repeatable and they can do it better and more consistently going forward.
That's a great point. Backstage before the Sunday show, Mishawaka, I watched the band spend a lot of time working on Shadow, going through piece by piece, rehearsing it. And I think, yes, Joey, it is true. A lot of people say, why don't you play and then name some obscure song that you played twice in 2008? Well, maybe because they don't remember how that song goes. And being a Biscuits song, many of them are complex and have lots of parts. And so the ability to work on a song and make sure it is stage ready, something we shouldn't take for granted. A lot of time and effort goes into that before, while you're out in the parking lot enjoying a balloon, the band is backstage with a chart trying to figure out, does this section come before this section, and what is Magner doing, and how am I in there? And it is an impressive feat.
Yeah, one of the hard parts about bringing an old song back to stage is like, what version are we doing? Because it's not like we have like this like canonical album version that we're trying. It's not like we're Jane's Addiction doing Nothing Shocking and like the album version is perfect and there's not, the live version is just recapture that. It's like we have these songs, they were never put on album. There could be 20 BPM difference between one version to the next, maybe more. The keyboard lines are all completely different in every song, and a lot of times the vocal perspective is different. So yeah, it's like, which one are we doing? How are we going to do this? It's a reimagining whenever we bring an old song back, especially like Shadow, a song that I never really was done with. I just never finished Shadow, Sounds great. This melody's so sick.
I give a lot of credit to the bass line and Mark on the Moog for this because it's so driving. It just has such a like muscular, confident feel behind it. There's no tentativeness. There's no like, we're trying out this new song. Even compare it to some of the Revolution in Motion songs when you guys were working them out on stage. This feels like you've played this song 200 times and it's the first time through.
Yeah, he's getting some chops on that keyboard. He must be rehearsing. I see him playing a lot of piano just randomly on tour nowadays. Like if there's a piano backstage or something, I'll see Mark on it just riffing. And I think he's kind of developed a little bit of comfortable fluency on the instrument where he can just like sit down and riff piano whenever he wants to now. And you can hear it in the fingers. He's playing, those are some pretty complicated bass lines. And I'm doubling them with him on guitar and we're playing them like in sync together. Yeah. It's all cool. And that's a whole new instrument from him, really.
This is the Risky Business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked, this was great, but I really, really liked how John's guitar playing in the Pine Creek Risky Business. It just got like completely just out there and almost like unhinged energy, which I thought was really awesome.
Are you talking about the jam?
It was kind of like the end part, before you go into the final, like right before the final chorus, when you right before like you hit that line. Yeah, out of the jam.
Yeah. I think Pine Creek, we did the jam a little different in Pine Creek. We're like working on the jam now in this song. You know, we did the song, we did the vocals. Now we're working on the jam.
Want me to bring that up?
You just come in at the last half of the jam
Okay.
of Pine Creek, I think would be great. And I mean, I think that's the other part, right? I mean, people, you know, when we make the songs, especially some of these songs from the jams, right? They've got sort of like the original parts, but then I think the part that always takes a little bit of work is one, you know, the end of the song. How do you end the song, and how do you get that big peak out of it? Because typically that part isn't in the jam, right? Because we're not, you know, a peak itself doesn't typically make a good jam to write over. So we write over something else, and then we have to build sort of the end of it. And I think it's something that sometimes we get it right on the first time. I think Country Royale is a good example of John just like nailing that sort of guitar solo on the first time. I think sometimes it takes a couple times, like Risky Business. I think we still haven't quite figured it out in Better in Doses, and I think that we still need to kind of figure out like what happens at the end of that jam to really get that thing to pop at the end of it. But we'll get there. But so yeah, really all the song, I mean, even, also in the end we have Forever, right? Like this, that jam that goes into the bridge, you know, that's not on the demo, right? And they didn't write it. It's just something that they've kind of built on and felt out, and now it's really starting to mature a little bit on stage.
It's funny that you say that, because now I'm actually developing like ways to practice. There's so many jams that need to be kind of expounded upon, if you will, like elaborated a little bit and created, and giving them like their own unique melodies and parts that people can use to make them bigger when the time is right. And the best way to find those parts is to put the jam on some kind of loop and just shred the thing and record it and go back and listen. It's the same way that we make the song. You have to do it again on the jam to get those moments where you hit the melody a little early, or the changes are a little wonky, but they're awesome and they're powerful. And then how do we then tell that to everybody in the band so we all are on the same page? And doing that on stage with a song that's in rotation, you know, once every week or something like that, or maybe twice a week if you're lucky, but almost never that happens nowadays. So you don't have time to do it on tour. I mean, I'd love to play the same song 10 nights in a row. I think people would be upset, you know? I don't know. Maybe Country Royale, we could get away with it, but like everything else, like, I don't know, you know? Maybe Trapdoor, get away with it. But yeah, these songs need that kind of attention. And so I'm just like figuring out ways to do it here is what I'm working on.
Well, let's switch over to that Risky Business from Pine Creek. Now, big difference here from this version is the first two versions you guys played, the song that came after was a pretty massive tempo shift. So at Mishawaka, you went Risky Business, Minions. And then in Salt Lake City, you went Risky Business into Down to the Bottom, which on paper is an absolutely psychotic segue, but you guys actually did it pretty well. But here you took Risky Business, Balls to the Wall, straight into We Like to Party. So it was just all gas, no brakes.
Yeah, I just moved to it, yeah.
Mark's doing his doorbell bass run there. I mean, this was a ridiculous set. Spaga, We Like to Party, Spaga. And in the end, we have Forever, Spaga, Risky Business, We Like to Party. That's nasty.
I mean, Mark was on fire with the set list. You guys and Joey, you guys were working together on every show, and the set lists are very unique and interesting, considering we've only had 3,000 of these things, and they're still unique and interesting. It's really unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Mark will talk more about the setlist process when he gets on with you, Max. But really, I look at my role in the setlist process is to try to make it easy for the band. Like, the band kind of has a general plan of the types of things that they want to do, and there's a lot of songs that need to get played. And so my goal is to make it easy for them to ultimately come up with the final set list. You know, I don't know much about different key changes and things of that nature. I have a feel for energy and stuff like that, and what might work well in a certain place. But I really look at my role as, how do I make it as easy for them with all the other things that they have to do to get a really great set list out there. And so that's really, you know, how this tour worked. And, kind of like songwriting, kind of like the lyrics, right? Like, my goal is to make it as easy for John to come up with that like excellent lyric. It's like, I'll lay the foundation. Listen, I'm not going to sell myself completely short. I've written some good set lists and I've written some good lyrics, but these guys are the pros, right? And they're better than me at it. So if I can make it easier for them to give it their magic, that's how I feel like my role is best serving them.
It works. That role works. Yeah.
Now, this is just like pure unadulterated Biscuits here, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to play somebody, hey, what do the Disco Biscuits sound like? You could play them this right here. Like, when I think of what I love about the Disco Biscuits is when they come out of a Ladies, or when they come out of a song like this, or when they come out of really that electronic jam space, and then they just set John up to go, and then John can do his thing and rip the guitar at the top of the jam. And that, you think about, all the really classic, for me at least, the classic, more electronic, Buddha, Ladies, this, it's all about just like coming out of that sort of electronic jamming and then teeing up Barber to just go. And I feel like this is a great example of that.
This was a lapse, so I don't have any choice. I have to go here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I look at the set list, it says lapse. I have to keep going and going and going and going until I think everybody in the band is going to collapse. And there you go.
And I think what we talked about, John, with this is it's kind of like Doorbell, where there's but you could even think about it like Crickets. I mean, it's different than Crickets, but like there's a line. There's like a very specific line that's very specific to the song, and your goal is to just take it to the top and then hit that line, and then you sing. Crickets is probably a bad example because there's no vocal right there, but I mean, Doorbell certainly.
Yeah. I just don't have the tone yet for that part because I love the keyboard tone. But I think it has to. I almost found it there for a second, and then I switched off of it because I didn't think it was there. I just have to I have to get sorted on a patch for the guitar that has that tear your face off synth feeling inside of the guitar tone, which I think I can get. I have to find it.
I feel like that's what, I feel like, what we could talk about this, like Twisted in the Road is an example of a jam that doesn't have that line, right? Like it's not exactly defined at the top of the jam what line, like there's, you know, you kind of just are jamming and jamming up and jamming up, and then you kind of hit the chorus. Where these have a very Doorbell and this song have a very distinguishable line that gets played at the top of the jam that tells the band, okay, I'm done. Sure, the laps are over, and now we're about to go into the end chorus. Maybe Twisted. You know, we never really wrote the top of the jam for Twisted, and maybe that would be useful.
It is helpful. Like, you have songs that, I mean, Confrontation never got the melody at the top. Magellan sure did. So it's sometimes they're baked in already. Sometimes you add them, but it's always nice to have them in some form or another, because it does make it easier to get to know when the jam is, you know, finishing off. You know, and it's always good to write them. I mean, Twisted could use that at this point. You know, one thing to talk about, Max, that you were, you know, a comment that I want to make on our earlier, like, why is Risky Business just 2 parts versus Another Plan of Attack, which is, you know, so many more parts.
Yes.
Another Plan of Attack was us searching for a song in some music that we liked. And you end up writing, when you don't have, like Joey, when you don't have anything, right? So let's say, and like Another Spin, perfect example, like there's 9 parts to that song, right? When you don't have anything, you have to write a lot of parts, because you never know which part you're gonna like after you go and get pizza.
Yeah.
You know? And so you have to write a bunch of parts, and you have to take a bunch of ideas that you have and take them kind of to the demo, at least record them, and then go get pizza and come back and see what you like, right? But a song like Risky Business, like Joey had the song pretty much already. It was like, can we just kind of record this and get it down? And like, can we make this production sound like something that carries the energy of these lyrics, and how fast can we do that? You know, and then that's basically the goal there. So we're not writing, we didn't write other lyrics for Risky Business. We just recorded the ones that Joey had.
Yeah.
We made a couple changes here and there, but generally it was almost verbatim. And then we took the music out of that jam, and then I did what I do production-wise to make it go up and down. I found that melody and stuff like that. So that's it. That's done. A song like Another Plan of Attack, we're just listening to music and saying, hey, what do we want to sing here? Like, what's one word we want to use? Maybe 2 words, you know? Yeah. So you really have to go from scratch. And sometimes it's like a country royale experience where the final lyrics and the beginning lyrics have nothing to do with each other. And sometimes it's like in Another Spin experience where there's 5 parts and we love them all. And then sometimes you have like your other songs where there's 5 parts, but only 3 of them make the song. One's a bridge and the other 2 are what they are. You know, that's the whole process. One way or another, that's the process of songwriting.
That's a really interesting point you made. Like, I think about Another Plan of Attack and like the bridges, and it was really you just being like, I feel like we should go, oh, this marble, she's so blue here. And then like that drove the creation of the part. And then next thing you know, oh, if we're going to do that here, then we need another one. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, Another Spin and Trapdoor were both kind of the same song as a writing process, where we had these we had a jam and we were me and John were really freestyling parts, kind of like in Another Plan of Attack too. And so it's like, oh, now we have this part, and oh, now we have this part, and then you like go get the pizza, and then you're like, how do we put this together? And then, you know, we have a lot of back and forth about like how the sections fit. But yeah, this is like the jam as they played it and the lyrics as they wrote them. And, you know, don't mess with something. You know, sometimes you just don't overcomplicate it if you think you've got something good there.
Yeah, we didn't overcook this one because it was so clearly done, just in every way possible. And I think it's part of our job in the studio. The reason we do a lot of songs in a couple of days is, 1, it's more fun, and 2, it does keep you moving from song to song, so you don't necessarily get to work on the jams and you don't get to work on certain things about the song. But, you know, it's writing for the love of writing almost than anything else.
I think you also just get cooking. We get cooking, you know, it's like you get hot, you get the hot hand, and you know, if you come in for a couple hours and then you go away and you come in for a couple hours and you're starting and stopping, you know, I feel like we really get into, like, by those third or fourth days, like some of our best songs have come on the fourth or fifth day in like a very short amount of time. No Recollection, Risky Business. Those are just like, we're in there, we're in the groove. We've been working together for a couple days, and we all are very comfortable with what's happening. And you really do. You get in, you can just get cooking, and you feel really comfortable. And everything's just moving at that point. All the computer problems have already been solved on day one. So
it's funny. I got home from tour and I had all these computer problems, and no one touched it worked fine when I left, and no one touched the computer while I was gone, to my knowledge. And yet I came home to a computer that wouldn't work, couldn't even listen to anything. It was crazy. Computer problems are crazy. These computers are constantly saying, work on me, make me do firmware, whatever type of stuff, all the time.
The computer was sad that you left her and went on tour, and she's going to
desktop.
Yeah, but like, in the computer's defense, as I feel like somebody here needs to stick up for the computer. I mean, there's a lot of shit on that thing, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things, there's a lot of software, a lot of plugins, a lot of things being updated, a lot of licenses that are constantly being needed to be renewed. It's syncing to different speakers and monitors and inputs and outputs and instruments and it's pretty amazing what we're able to do in your basement on that computer, and every now and then it drives you absolutely insane. It's like
once a week. I mean, look, it's like I think I got this computer in Brazil, but when we went to 96K,
yes,
when we went to 96K, that's when the problems really started creeping up. 48K was fine.
Yeah,
it was totally fine. But those demos sound like garbage compared to the new demos.
Well, we're coming to the end of this jam, winding our way back to the We Like to Party to close out the first set of the last night of the Why We Dance tour. Good opportunity for us to take stock and, look ahead as well. This is going to be the longest period you've been off the road in quite a while, maybe this year, John. I'm sure that you have a lot of life to catch up on. Joey,
it's crazy. You
as well. You have a career outside of the Disco Biscuits, families, friends, things to attend to. With now 7 songs this year, you've got the 3 host Revolution in Motion debuts from last December. You've got Mark's new song. What are you doing next? Are you going to pause and polish up all of the existing songs, or is it just right back to the fire hose of creativity and continuing to put out new material?
Well, let me just say to start, it's easy to not pay people who want money.
Yeah.
When you're on tour.
Yes.
When you're on tour, you could just be like, I'm sorry, I'm not home. Click. You know what I mean? Good luck. This week, literally everybody I owed money to, like everybody, River School, like I owe money to so many fucking people. I get home from tour and like there's like 1,000 people who are like, you haven't paid me. And like, so I literally had to like be nice and like deal with all those people at this week. I spent all week doing that. And so that's that.
Yes.
That's what I do the week I get home.
All your bills are now paid.
Pay everybody I've been ducking for the last 9 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the whole rock. I'm a rock star. I'm on tour. I'm gonna read my email when I get home. It works. I'm sure it works. I'm sure you're pretty good at selling that story to people.
It works. I mean, it's real. It's real. I don't have to sell it. It's my real life, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, Joey, for you, that probably doesn't work as well. But
I mean, I'm working. I mean, I'm juggling a lot of balls.
Yes.
I'm
big balls.
I've got, yeah, if we want to go there, I don't want to go there, but, anyways, I think, look, we've been talking, we're working with producers on, the older, newer the newer or newer songs. I mean, there's so many songs, right? You know, I know we've been working with a couple producers on producing some of the newer songs. I mean, I've been writing. I know that I've been writing some stuff, and I think we're going to be doing some writing in the time too. So I think we definitely want to get versions of all these new songs produced and out, and you know, there's all sorts of cool things we can do with them. But I think we also want to keep creating too. So I think we'll do both.
It's funny as we've been home for what, 1 week, and I already have 3 new song demos in my phone that I got from Joey and Mark, and people are writing already. Wow. I was like, how do you guys have time for this stuff? Like, I had a great week just doing stuff to be home. I had to fix my studio and stuff like that because it didn't work when I got home. But yeah, I mean, look, we finished the Shocked remix this week. We did a session. So it feels like everybody's just working on music all the time, which is it's just a tribute to the fan base for supporting us and our management for really doing things right. Like, we are home and everybody seems happy and healthy, and we're just immediately writing more music. It's unbelievable to me. And next week we're going to be in LA writing all week long. So, you know, like full songwriting team, like just shredding new songs all next week. So there is no break, I think. Yeah. There's no break.
I really enjoy I'm not very good at just like writing in and out of the day because I have a lot of different distractions going on in my life, but I really enjoy clearing a day and locking myself in a room and listening. I mean, I pull jams and I write over jams, and it's cathartic for me, and I really enjoy it. So today was that day for me. I've been writing all day, and hopefully we see some of that stuff in a song here at some point. So yeah, but you know, Mark's been writing, I've been writing. We like to party.
Well, yeah, I mean, I got a video from Aaron. It's crazy. Everybody's working, and yeah, it's good. It's a good time.
Well, I'm not going to ask you guys to share any of the work you have in progress, but I will ask a very broad general question. Might we hear any jams from the last few weeks or months of tour emerge in a jamception situation going forward?
Of course. I would think. I mean, did we play anything? I mean, I don't know. I was playing great guitar in that Houston show. I don't know if I'll ever be that good again. So I don't know how we're going to get so many jams to jam over from these later shows where we're clearly not playing that well. You know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. Not, I know, I'm just fucking around. Like, yeah. I mean, we have to do that session that Joey and I do a really good job of like getting a lot of songwriting in, but also getting a lot of like meta work done to set up the songwriting. Yeah. Because it's awful for the whole songwriting crew to assemble and then watching me deal with, 7 hours of clicking and syncing and all the technical stuff that we're trying to outsource as much as possible, even though we there's not very few people there's very few bands who are doing what we're doing. And so there isn't like we have this one guy in Philly who's pretty good at it. And so let's hope he doesn't disappear, and we'll see what happens. But we have to do a new set. I guess the fans could submit jam moments that they like.
They do.
Yeah, they do. Definitely. Yeah.
I get them. I get apparently I re-listen to all the shows, but I'm usually doing something when I re-listen to all the shows. So it's not a really great opportunity for me to like really pick out what's song worthy, but I've got a list of things that people have been sending me. I know there's one jam in particular that I personally remember at the show being like, this is a song-worthy jam, and it's the Helicopters into Dribble from Chicago. That's like got that sort of like so good it sounds like you guys composed it quality that we look for in a jam.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually gone through the process of really kind of like organizing them and talking to John about them and or anything like that. But certainly they're there. I think, I don't know if we'll get to them before Fall Tour. I mean, I think we'll probably, I know we're going to write next week. I don't think it's going to be a jamception type session, but maybe I'm sure in December or something like that, we'll probably come together. We'll have a whole Fall Tour's worth of jams too. So, but we'll probably pick a couple now, get them on the list, maybe get them processed so that they're ready for whenever it is that we want to come back to them. The other cool thing about it is when we do this, it's like if we find a really good thing, even if we don't write over it right away, it's something the band can play if they want, right? It's a theme that the band can hit on. It's a little bit of a structural guidepost in a show. They haven't done too much of that where we're replaying the jam before we actually make it into a song. But I do think there's opportunities, especially on Fall Tour, where it's a long tour. There's a lot of shows where we could be like, hey, let's recreate this jam that we played, and then we'll take that. We can make that into a song. When you build on the jam that was already played live, I think there's a lot of opportunity to do that, and we haven't done that yet. We have Speed Cream, right, which we haven't even replayed yet, which is a possibility too. So lots of jams.
It's interesting because there's a lot of different ways to make songs that we've done. And we've been in this, turn jam into song thing for a minute. And so I was thinking in October, we would like go back to some of the other methods of songwriting and see if we can find some different ideas. I think that's what's been actually happening a little bit. Just as far as everybody's kind of like work when they're songwriting on their own. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, Country Royale is the best example, and I mean, maybe the best song, and it didn't get written over a jam. So I think we haven't completely abandoned that idea. It's just, it's worked for us, but I think there's definitely an opportunity to keep mixing it up and making new compositions. I think it's fun either way. I can oftentimes write over a jam, but then you have the lyrics. You don't have to actually make that jam into the song that I wrote over, right? We can take those lyrics and write over anything, whether it's a new song or a different jam. I think there's very few situations where I've written over a jam and then that actually became the song. Most always those lyrics get moved. I think I wrote Risky Business over the jam that became Trapdoor. I honestly think, and I think I wrote Trapdoor over a different jam too, right? So I'm not writing when it's not like a linear thing. I pick the jam, I write over it, and then I tell the band to make it. It's like I use the jams to help me write, and then we get in the band, and then we completely mix it up.
Amazing.
You never know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, guys, I am thrilled to have these new songs in the rotation. I feel so fickle. I go from being completely obsessed with Country Royale one week to being completely obsessed with Trapdoor the next, and then I'm all about Risky Business. But it's just a testament to the fact that you are writing songs that are getting jaded, old, sour fans like myself excited. People who've been around for years. I've been hearing from so many people lately. I'll give a shout out to Tim Danielson. Barbara, remember Tim Danielson? Roll Tide, all those guys who used to tape back in the day. He started coming back to shows. He said this is the best he's heard the band play possibly since back in the 90s when he was taping all the shows. I'm hearing that from so many people. And a big part of what is getting people so excited is this new approach. We always dreamed back in the day that your favorite jam, that moment that electrified you in the room or on tape, that somehow that it would live beyond that one moment. And now we have that. And so the Biscuits are just building this monument of these moments that blew people's minds once, but don't just have to live in the past, but that continue to grow and evolve. And in some of the cases of the Jamception songs, spin off songs of their own. So the lineage continues. What are we up to now, Joey? We're like third generation Jamception pretty soon. I'm sure we'll get a fourth generation Jamception out of one of these. And the songs.
Thank you for bringing that up. I've made it the whole podcast without bringing this up, John. I'm sure you are. But I think Risky Business is actually, if you go from the Morph that made By the Time, and then so it's Morph, and then it's By the Time, and then it's Doorbell. I mean, look, we look at either song on either side of the jam.
Yeah.
I mean, technically it was a Rock Candy jam, but it was going into Doorbell, which drove the direction of the jam. Yeah. So that's our fourth. This is Risky Business is the first song that has has a lineage of sort of 4 jams that have gone through it.
And I just look at it a totally different way. I appreciate this whole lineage thing. It's funny because Better in Doses is a key change of the Doorbell jam. So it's the Doorbell jam and then changed key into another jam. I don't know how you guys are going to do that in your Nerd Olympics that you're doing right now.
How many points does that count for?
Yeah. How many otters do you get?
It's 2 otters and 1 golden eagle.
I mean, my whole thing is like, look, every time we play To Be Continued and I play the do, 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 right? Yeah. That melody, you would never write that melody. You would never write those notes from major third to minor third to major third and then major third to 4. It's so weird. But you would play it in a jam all the time. And it's just funny. Every time we get into that section To Be Continued, I'm always like, it's funny that this like random anthem from New York City in like 2008 or wherever is the best, is like so high energy. It's such a high, great moment of this song. Why wouldn't you play it once? Why would you just play it once from the jam? Like why wouldn't you put that into something and do it over and over again? And so and you would never write that in a studio. So why not? That gives you all the reason to do it.
The beauty of the Disco Biscuits in 2024. Well, Joey, John, thank you once again for joining us. I look forward to when we have the next new song to do a deep dive on. But until then, so many great shows to review. John, I would love to sit down with you before you head back out on the road and listen to the Munchkin Invasion from Fort Collins, or the Tempest from Chicago, or parts of that Salt Lake City show. So many highlights over the last few weeks and months that the fans have loved and that the Touchdowns All Day audience is going to love as well. So thanks again for joining us on the pod, and we will see you all next time.
See you, everybody.
See you. Thanks, Max. Thanks, John.
Remind you all that Touchdowns All Day is an Osiris Media production. You can check us out on the web at www.touchdownsallday.com and use the hashtag TouchdownsAllDay on all social platforms. You could reach us by phone at 424-666-SIYD. That's our toll-free hotline for you to leave a message, questions, comments, feedback. You could also reach us on Instagram at TouchdownsAllDay, on X at TDADBaby, and John and I can be reached at Barber Shreds and at FY Maxwell, respectively, on all major social platforms. This and every episode of Touchdowns All Day was written, produced, and edited by me, Max Dawson, and was mixed and mastered by Matt Dwyer. Podcast would not be possible without the contributions of many women and men, including the Disco Biscuits road crew. That's Ben, Pat, Nick, Brian, Rich, Dane, Amin, Herm, and Tara Gracer, who supplies us with the amazing photographs that we use on our episodes. Of course, we need to thank the band itself, most of all John, but also Mark, Aaron, and Alan, Ben Baruch and Andrew Kaplan at 1111 Management, the Touchdowns All Day Advisory Committee. These guys always have my back with the best recommendations of the most critical segments to share with you guys and to share with the band. That's Andy Bazzani, Mike Walsh, the Biscuits Internet Project, Russ Tabes, Dave Cook, Scott McClintock, Rich Steele, and Ian Armstrong. My brothers, the coaches, Joey Friedman and Steve Martocci. Much love to you guys. And of course, we end every episode giving our most heartfelt thanks to our partners. That's Lisa Gutwillig, Sandra O'Quinn, Deb Brownstein, Angelica Magner, Andrea Rivers, and Avery McMahon. On behalf of Joey Friedman, John Barber, and the entire Touchdowns All Day family, this is Max Dawson saying, see you next time.
We must communicate. We must communicate. We must communicate.
Osiris.